It is now my honor to invite Robert L. Meyer. He is a Hong Kong-based businessman, retired lawyer, and lifelong advocate for Israel, a Columbia-educated legal expert and entrepreneur. He has written and lectured extensively on Israel's international legal rights, jihad, and radical Islam. A Zionist since 1966, he remains a vocal supporter of Israel in global forums and media. His speeches and writings can be found at Israel Advocacy.
There's no free beer after my presentation, so thank you everyone for waiting. My remarks are on understanding jihad and why it matters. So good evening everyone, and thank you to Avi Abelo for inviting me to speak at this conference on a new era for Israel as a light unto the nations, which you've heard. Israel faces a challenging region where Jew hatred, fueled by jihadi ideology and doctrine, makes the noble vision of being a light unto the nations difficult. Nations who hate us are not very interested in our light. To be a light, Israel must understand our enemies in order, first, to be invincible and to overcome them and survive, and then, hopefully, for them to see our light. Chinese General Sun Tzu said, "Know your enemy," and he's right. Tonight, I'll explain the Islamic doctrine of jihad, its motivations, and why understanding it is critical for Israel's security and future. Many Israelis underestimated Hamas before October 7th, believing that Hamas prioritized Gaza's prosperity over conflict. This conception, as we all know, was disastrously wrong, as Hamas's brutal attack on October 7th, murdering 1,200 Israelis and taking 250 hostages, showed. Had we better understood jihad, we would have anticipated and better defended against this tragedy. Excuse me. Jihad is central to Hamas's actions, and yet it's not understood. To grasp it, we must know the story of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, whose example the Quran in 89 places urges Muslims to imitate and emulate. Muhammad is regarded in Islam as the perfect Muslim. Because the Quran itself lacks biographical details of Muhammad, the hadiths, the 6,400 authenticated stories of Muhammad's sayings and his deeds, and the Sirah, his biography, both written about 200 years after his death, provide a very clear picture. Quickly, Muhammad was born in 570 CE in Mecca, which was a tolerant, polytheist town in Arabia, where many tribes worshipped at the black meteorite cube in the town, the Kaaba. During 13 years, from 610 to 622 inclusive, in his Mecca period, he received revelations from Allah through the angel Gabriel, and he preached Islam peacefully, converting between 100 to 150 followers, mostly family, relatives, neighbors, and others. In 622, when he argued that only Muslims could pray at the Kaaba, his own tribe, the Quraysh, expelled him. He fled to Yathrib, later called Medina, an agricultural town where 50% of the population consisted of 3 Jewish tribes. Expecting the Jews to accept him as the final prophet because the Jews knew their scriptures, Muhammad was disappointed when the Jews did not do so. After about a year of unsuccessful, peaceful persuasion preaching Islam in Medina, Muhammad turned to violent jihad toward the Jews, the first victims of jihad. The fate of Medina's 3 Jewish tribes was grim. In 2 years, all the Medinan Jews were annihilated by exile, enslavement, and the mass execution of 800 Jewish men and teenage boys who were beheaded in Medina's town square and with their women and children enslaved. The culture and civilization of the Jews of Medina and later of the Jews of Khaybar were the first of many cultures and civilizations to be destroyed by jihad. It was during Muhammad's later Medina period that jihad by the sword became his principal tool to spread Islam over all Arabia. Muhammad committed jihad, and so jihadis today, commanded by the Quran, must follow his example and commit jihad as well. The hadiths permit jihadi acts which ignore all civilized norms, such as murder, rape, maiming, torture, deception against the kafirs or unbelievers, provided that they are done for the advancement of Islam. This is what Hamas committed on October 7th, with terrorists joyfully celebrating and videoing their atrocities as acts commanded by Allah. Jihad is Islam's highest duty, and it offers a win-win for jihadis. Let me explain. If the jihadis survive the jihad, they conquer the kafirs, they spread Islam to new populations and territories, and they're honored by the Muslim ummah or community. And if they die in so doing, they become shaheeds or martyrs, and they benefit from two important post-mortem Islamic benefits. First, they skip the terrors of the grave. That's a Muslim belief in torment in the grave for long periods of time by two angels fighting over whether the deceased should be sent to heaven or to hell. Thanks. And second, as you all know, they are promised life in the highest Muslim heaven, cavorting with 72 houris or ethereal virgins for eternity. The commandments of Allah and these two post-mortem benefits drive jihadis to embrace death, believing that it secures eternal reward in the world to come. And it is for this reason that they say, "We love death as you love life." Douglas Murray calls them a death cult. This strongly held religious belief and expansionist mindset on behalf of Islam fuels their relentless commitment to jihad for the advancement of Islam. Hamas's actions reflect political Islam, that is, how Islam deals with kafirs or non-Muslims. And this subject is discussed by more than 51% of the aggregate words in the Quran, the Hadiths, and the Sirah. And it's astonishing that Islam devotes so much time and attention in these books to kafirs or non-Muslims. Why? Political Islam seeks to conquer the population and territory of the entire world and to convert or kill kafirs or unbelievers, or to enslave them or turn them into dhimmis, discriminated against minorities. Kafirs, as a term, is an extremely derogatory term for infidels. The Quran states, Allah hates the kafirs and plots against them. The Quran further states that kafirs can be warred against, beheaded, terrorized, and humiliated. Muhammad in the Hadiths and in the Sirah states that kafirs can be killed, raped, tortured, mocked, cursed, deceived, and condemned. In Islam, kafirs are considered by Muslims to be concealers or cover-uppers, in that we kafirs know very well that there's only one true God, and that is Allah, one true religion, Islam, and one true prophet, Muhammad. But we evilly choose to cover it up. Quran Surah 2 verse 191 declares, "Drive them out from where they drove you out," commanding that lands such as Israel, which have been conquered by Muslims, in the case of Israel from the Byzantine Christians in the year 637, remain Islamic forever. This explains why Palestinians reject a two-state solution. The ceding of Muslim land since 637 to the Jews is simply forbidden by Allah's command in the Quran. If Israel were to defeat Hamas and control all of Gaza, jihadis would see this as a catastrophic loss of Muslim territory, sparking internal conflict over who lost Gaza. Jihad's history is violent. In the 9 years from 623 in Medina to his death in 632, Muhammad led 65 raids or battles, averaging one every 6 weeks. He increased his followers from 150 to 100,000 and made Arabia nearly entirely Muslim. Jihad, as compared with his gentle preaching and persuasion in Muhammad's earlier Mecca period, was extremely successful. Over the ensuing 1400 years, jihad has killed an estimated 270 million people, particularly in Africa and India, destroying many cultures and civilizations and casting their populations into slavery and dimitude. And this continues to this very day. When Muhammad died in 632, the areas of Turkey, Syria, Byzantine Palestine, Egypt, North Africa, and Iraq, which were later colonized by jihadi Muslims, were Christian territories. They're not Christian today, and Europe faces a similar threat. Jihadis view treaties like Muhammad's Treaty of Hudaybiyah as hudnas, or temporary ceasefires, to be broken when they become stronger, their enemies become weaker, or both. This long game mentality means that jihad never ends. A hadith predicts Muslims fighting the Jews until the final day of judgment, quote, "Until the stone behind which a Jew will be hiding will say, 'O Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, so kill him,'" unquote. Temporary setbacks do not deter them. They believe victory is inevitable. Muhammad was a serial winner. So why does this matter for Israel? Jews have extensively studied the Nazi Holocaust in order to remember, commemorate, and understand it. And yet, if you think about it, we invest only a tiny fraction of our time and resources in trying to understand today's Holocaust actors, the jihadis, their jihadi doctrine based on the sayings and deeds of Muhammad. This is despite the decades of jihadi attacks against Israel, including the attack of October 7th, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Jihadi violence around the world, including Hamas and Iran's existential threat to us, is happening now. Did you know that since September 11th, 2001, jihadi terrorists around the world have carried out 47,903 deadly terror attacks? Regarding Iran, unlike the Cold War's mutually assured destruction, which deterred nuclear war, Iran's apocalyptic ideology welcomes destruction and the sacrifice of their population in order to hasten the coming of their messianic 12th Imam. A nuclear-armed Iran will not be deterred by the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. Israel and the United States obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities during the recent 12-day war. Unfortunately, jihadi beliefs will motivate Iran to rebuild its nuclear, ballistic missile, and other capabilities in the future. So Israel must understand this and be eternally vigilant and ready to act. I urge Israelis to invest in studying jihad, its doctrine, motivations, strategies. We cannot afford to be blissfully ignorant of Muhammad and what he did and said, given his motivation of jihadis today. We need to engage scholars like Dr. Mordecai Kadar, Robert Spencer, Dr. Bill Warner, Andrew Bostom, Raymond Ibrahim, and others to educate our politicians, military leaders, and the public through schools, textbooks, webinars, programs, and conferences about jihad. By understanding jihad, we can successfully anticipate and hopefully preemptively counter current and future threats from jihadi groups such as Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and others, and keep Israel secure. Israel can be a light unto the nations who will be receptive to this light, but only if we first face and defeat the darkness of jihad with knowledge, understanding, and resolve. We already have made progress with agreements with 4 Muslim nations in the Abraham Accords. This includes the UAE, which has banned jihadis, jihadi ideology, jihadi education in schools, and even has criminalized anti-Semitism. Hopefully, there also will be other Muslim nations that will see Israel's light and join the Abraham Accords in the future. However, I have a cautionary warning. We need always to understand and be aware that jihad is a permanent, non-erasable part of Islam. And while some of Israel's Abraham Accord partners may reject jihad today, their political circumstances and attitudes toward jihad can also change for the worse in the future. Thank you.
If you are not yet a subscriber to our daily, belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect, truthful videos about Israel, the Jewish people, and the freedom-loving world, what are you waiting for? Go to pulsevisual.com and click to subscribe today. And yes, we are a donor-based operation. We need your donations for support in order to make these videos and get our videos seen and do all the work we do. So every once in a while, whether a large donation or a small donation, just go to pulsevisual.com and click on the donate button. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.